All right, how's it going, guys? This is engineering major, philosophy minor, and I've got to get to bed here pretty soon. I hope you guys are having a good night, but I do have a business trip coming up tomorrow where I need to wake up pretty early to get myself to the airport. But I did want to make a quick video. This is going to be really rough. I'm going to try not to do basically any editing on this at all, so I apologize if it's a little bit stumbling through ideas and things like that. But over the last, 72-ish hours, there have been what seems to be like a pretty extreme escalation of not only just events happening in the street, but interpretations of events happening in the street. And there has been a lot of blame game stuff going on, and saying that this group is responsible for that and this other group is responsible for that, and the president is responsible for this, and you know these guys are responsible for that. And I do have my opinions on, as a conservative thinker, I do have my opinions on what is going on, and I do think that this sort of tension right now is a little bit lopsided and biased towards one side. As I just mentioned, I'm conservative, so I'm sure you can guess which side I'm talking about. But in this video, I really want to focus on the individual, and I want to send a message, and ideally this message would go to everyone, both people on the conservative side and then also people on the more left side of things. And I want to talk to you guys as individuals, and I'm not talking about how other individuals relate to you. I'm talking about you, yourself, one individual. And because of the fact that I'm talking to everyone as an individual, whether or not they're white, they're black, you're Asian, you might be Indian, you might be Native American, you might be whatever you might be. If you're a man, you're a woman, you're LGBTQ, whatever you might be, I'm talking to you as the individual. And because of the fact that I'm referring to you guys as the individual, I'm really talking to everyone at once. Not any particular group, not left, not right, just you as the individual, meaning every single thinking individual in the country, in the world. I want to give you guys kind of three messages, I guess is maybe the best word to say it. And some of you might look at this as, oh, this random guy online is trying to give like a weird motivational speech, and part of it is supposed to be motivational, but the other part of it is, this is how I live my daily life. This attitude is exactly how I got myself to the spot that I'm at. And to tell you the truth, when you adopt these things and you really try to live out some of these philosophies, I can almost 99.9% guarantee you that your life is at least going to get just a little bit better. And just to kind of take a step back, one of the reasons why I want to talk to the individual is because that is sort of the foundation of America. It's that a good, well-doing, well-meaning individual is sort of the foundational building block of society. And from the individual, it goes to families, and then of course it keeps increasing in size until we get full states and obviously the federal government. But so let's talk about these three things. The first thing is, of course, there's been a ton of blame game going on, and a lot of it is directed towards President Trump, right? But the message that I want to send to you guys is the president does not control my life, okay? The president doesn't control your life. In fact, why don't you guys just say it out loud with me right now? Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. The president does not control my life. I control my life, okay? I make decisions that are best for me. I make decisions that are obviously well-intentioned towards other individuals, and that right there is extremely important to acknowledge, that you are in charge of your life. You can choose to obey the law, you can choose to break the law. You can act like there are factors out there forcing your hand in some way. I can assure you in America that's not true. And the reason why I know it's not true is because you can look throughout history and even in current government regimes around the world where people don't get to choose what they wear every day, right? People don't get to choose what school they go to. People don't get to choose what they eat. People don't get to choose what profession they take up. In America, you are in control of all those things. And you are allowed to succeed and you are allowed to fail, right? Now, there are places where failure can mean death, right? Like there have been countless examples throughout history. Right now, what's coming to mind is, Soviet Russia, Stalin's doctors. I mean, those guys had a rough time because if they said something Stalin didn't like, it was straight to the gulag for them. Okay, so you are in control of your life. Now, building off of that, I've got notes down here, so I know this is pretty rough, but you control your life, and people need to stop getting caught up in the desire to do other things that affect or control other people's lives. You need to focus on the things that you can do on your own as an individual. Focus on the things that you can do, right? So, when we're talking about something like police brutality, somebody might say, well, I can't, I surely can't walk down the street today because there's police out there and they're gonna, they're gonna come and get me. Well, here's the thing about the police. You're not gonna get in trouble from the police unless you're breaking the law, right? So all you have to do is not break the law. Now, let's say you really believe you can't walk down the street. Well, focus on the things you can do. And this is going to sound really dumb, but maybe you can cook yourself a meal. Maybe you can read a book that you have lying around the house. Maybe you can take a different route if you're really worried about the police. Maybe you can go outside, and if you see a cop car, you stop, and if you don't see a cop car, you proceed on, right? Focus on the things that you can do. And just to tell you guys a personal story of mine that kind of relates to this. So for the past almost a year and a half now, I completely threw my back out. I threw my back out about a year and a half ago. I should have said it that way. That sounds better. And obviously, this made it almost impossible for me to work out, right? There were several months where I could barely do anything. And of course, I took several setbacks in the amount of weight I could lift, the number of exercises I could do, whether or not I could even get out of bed that day. But what I started doing is focusing on what I could do. I found that I could still train upper body. So I trained upper body. I found that if I did certain exercises with resistance bands, that I was able to do that and still not get an amazing workout, but still do something. And it's focusing on those things that I could do, which really helped me when I was feeling super down and uncomfortable about the position that I was in. Now, just to, I'll end this story in a second, but just to take it one step further. So just tonight, I have a fitness YouTube channel. It's called Alex Trains Chest. If you guys want to check that out, I'd appreciate it. If not, that's totally fine. But I just went with a buddy to the gym tonight. Now, my back is still pretty tender. I'm still pretty limited on what I can do. And we sat down at the leg press machine. So this is a machine, for those of you who don't know. You're kind of lying down back, and you put your feet up on a platform, and you push the weight up and down with your feet on this platform. And of course, I sit down in the machine, and it's already uncomfortable. But I want to see if I can do it. I put my feet up. I can feel that my back is really starting to stretch. It is not comfortable. And I can feel that my hamstrings are incredibly tight because I haven't been able to stretch my hamstrings at all because of my back. And I knew right away that I wasn't going to be able to do any weight. Now keep in mind, we're filming a video for another YouTube channel. right? And obviously everybody's at the gym, looking around, and they're seeing us filming. Now, I could have said to myself, you know what? This is just way too embarrassing. I'm not even going to try this. You know, oh, my back feels a little bit uncomfortable. I can't do this. I'm just going to give up. But no, I sat there and I did reps with absolutely no weight on the sled, really partial range of motion reps, not really being able to fully lock out, and I filmed it. And I'm going to put that up on my YouTube channel eventually, no matter how embarrassing it is. You know why? Because I want to focus on the things that I can do. And if I focus on that and I do something, at least I'm not doing nothing, right? Just to touch back on this point, getting caught up in things that control others' lives. So just as we talked about a second ago, the president does not control my life. Well, what things are you doing to control other people's lives? Let's say that, you light a business on fire, and then the people come to their business and they see that it's completely burned down, something that they put their entire life's work into. Maybe they put their life savings into that. Maybe they have been taking on a lot of financial risk to keep this business going. Maybe their insurance prices are already really high. And you go and you burn it down. Well, isn't that you controlling somebody else's life? And of course, if somebody came and burnt your business or your house down, you wouldn't like it too much, right? And I know that this sounds like really obvious, but just think about it for a second. What you're doing is trying to control somebody else's life. And then you're getting upset at the system because the system, the US government or the police force doesn't want you to be able to do that because it's very damaging to other people. Well, don't complain about the fact that you're not allowed to do that or you'll get arrested doing that. Focus on the things that you can do, right? So maybe rather than burning down a business, you start your own business, right? Maybe you're super worried about police brutality, so um, you I don't know, start a community or something where people can talk about it openly or can share their stories, right? Maybe you take on the burden of bringing those stories to law enforcement attention, And if you get ignored, maybe you try again. And if you get ignored, you try again, right? Focus on the things that you can do. Next point. You guys need to stop lying to yourselves. I mean, you need to stop lying to other people, but really stop lying to yourselves, okay? Stop lying about people who commit crime and have bad things happen to them, right? The whole reason why it's called a crime is because you can get arrested for it. The whole reason why we have the concept of justice is because in some fashion, be that by democratic vote or otherwise, we have decided that there are certain activities that are not acceptable for the rest of society. And that's really what justice is all about. And I will make another video on this as well. But justice is about showing everybody that there are certain behaviors that are not acceptable and they will be punished, right? And not to get too deep into the philosophy, but there's a big reason why justice needs to not be mob rule and it needs to be completely dispassionate. But let me just leave it at that. You need to be honest about. I can't. I can't read my own handwriting. Oh yeah. You guys need to be honest about not exaggerating circumstance in order to evade responsibility for something. Be honest about. Oh man, be honest with yourself or stop lying to yourself about the good that you think you can't do. This kind of relates back to that you control your own life, that you don't want to get caught up in the desire to do things that control others, but instead focus on what you can do. Do not lie to yourself that you are not capable of doing good. Oh, I wish I could read this, but I can't. Oh, here's what it says. Stop lying to yourself also that you yourself have all the answers. Okay? That if people just did it your way, everything would be perfect. That if the system just ran the way you thought it should run, it would be perfect. Okay? These things are extremely complicated. People, many people, in fact, millions of people throughout history, for each individual aspect of our system, have spent their entire lives trying to understand why it is the way it is and why it shouldn't be another way. Um, and what's happening right now is a lot of people think that they have the perfect answer or the perfect solution without really doing any research, without really dedicating any amount of time to it. A lot of people think like, oh, it's just common sense that it should be this way or that way. And there's a lot of things that in life that you really, really need to think through before you pretend that you have all the answers for it. Okay. And rather than blaming this person or blaming that person or going back and forth about all this stuff, you know, really, really think about the situation and don't believe that your answer is perfect right off the bat. And then the final thing that I want to talk about is face your fears or face the things that make you uncomfortable. Now, for a lot of people out there, this might be looking into some conservative thought. For other people, it might be looking into some more left-leaning thought. All right? But face the things that make you uncomfortable. Learn about the things that make you uncomfortable. Face the things that you're afraid of. Let's say that you're insanely afraid about walking down the street because you're being hunted by police, this is something that LeBron James is a big fan of talking about, right? Well, here's what I have to say to LeBron James. You're way better than basketball at me, obviously. I will never be in the NBA, and I'll never be as good as you, even if I could be in the NBA. But how about you, LeBron James, with all your millions and millions of followers, go talk to a police officer on film and discuss with the police officer how you feel and see how the police officer responds. Do it with a white police officer, do it with a black police officer, do it with a Hispanic police officer, do it with an Asian police officer, do it with a woman, do it with a woman of all those races. Whatever you want to do. If you're really afraid, then, or you really think that this huge group of people is legitimately afraid of the police, then face your fears, okay? And for the people out there who are legitimately afraid of the police because they're breaking the law, this goes back to stop lying to yourself, all right? If you commit a crime, if you break the law, that is reason for the system, aka police, to use force against you. Now, there might be excessive force used. There might be wrongdoing. Obviously, that's bad, but you need to stop lying to yourself that you are living your life in the perfect way that doesn't put you in a situation that could become toxic for you. Okay? And what's happened with a lot of these cases lately is an initial thing happens and it gets taken completely out of context, and then everybody rages, right? And people have been raging at this point for months, and they've been violating all of these rules right here. They say it's all the president's fault, right? As if the president somehow picks up the red telephone and calls up, the police officer in Minneapolis and says, you know what I want you to do today? I want you to go like hunt down this guy so that we can create like huge race riots. No, the president doesn't control your life. The president didn't call up George Floyd and tell him to load himself up with fentanyl. The president didn't call Derek Chauvin and say, I want you to intentionally murder a person that is not of your race, right? The president doesn't control your life, and we need to stop lying to ourselves about the fact that people who commit crime should end up in the best possible situations ever, especially if they're repeat offenders, okay? And then, again, lastly, face the things that you're uncomfortable with, right? Now, I want to give you guys an example in my life where I'm trying the best I can to understand perspectives from a different way. So I'm actually reading, um, oh gosh, I'm going to blank on the name of the book right now. Let's see really fast. Audible. Okay, so I'm actually reading um, the book by Mary L. Trump, Too Much and Never Enough. All right, here it is right here. I've got about 31 minutes left. Okay, now is this something that I'm legitimately afraid of? No. Okay, so maybe it's not the best example, but it is something that I'm uncomfortable with, right? Because I'll just say I support Donald Trump. I plan on voting for him, and it. But I didn't always feel that way. I actually voted Hillary in 2016, and I couldn't for the life of me understand why people voted for Trump. And so I started doing a ton of research on that because it just made me really uncomfortable. And I started researching all sorts of other political topics, right? Specifically because I just needed to know. So now we have an entire book that was written about Trump, allegedly criticizing him, and apparently it's a very damning book for him. So I decided to read it. Okay? That's the kind of thing that I'm asking, or I don't even want to say asking, I'm telling you guys to do. Treat yourself as a sovereign individual. Realize that other people can't control your life. Stop lying to yourself and stop convincing yourself of things that are not true. Finally, once you have figured out how to do those things, face the things that make you uncomfortable, right? This can be with so many things that are going on in our society right now. It can be individual to police, it can be man to woman, it can be woman to woman, man to man, whatever it might be, okay? Start making yourselves better individuals, and there's no better place to do it than the United States. People talk about how, oh, the system is rigged against me. Oh, the wealthy prevent me from doing this. Oh, I can't do this because the police, and I can't do that because, I can't find a school to go to. I can't do this because I don't have enough money. I can't do this because this, and that. No, I mean, you can go on YouTube and you can learn a bunch of amazing stuff. The government gives a lot of handouts to people, okay? And one thing that I do want to do on this channel too is I actually want to go through the application process for like a couple different businesses that are around here. And I want to kind of write out a resume or show you guys the approach that I use for kind of resume writing. Because, I really do genuinely think that people can improve their lives by thinking and adhering to these steps or these kind of guiding principles that I've laid out here. And so, yeah, this has been a lot longer than I anticipated. But like I said, you're an individual. You are in control of your own life. The less you lie to yourself, the more in control of your life you will be. And the more that you adopt those first three things, the more that you will be able to face your fears and conquer the things that make you uncomfortable. And maybe if more people are able to do that, we would have less violence going on in the streets and less blaming of other individuals for things that are really our own responsibility. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Leave a comment below if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Good night, guys.